Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, the series where I bring my fantasy novel life in Minecraft one block at a time. Today's episode, we're back here into the city, and I'm going to start working on some buildings, mainly the warehouse district. Let's get to it. So here we are, we've got all these different warehouses that I've kind of built up. One of them is inhabited as of right now, my brewery, as you saw in the little time lapse there. But these ones are all kind of empty. I was just doing kind of cookie cutter, building up very similar style with doing the stripped dark oak to the mud, a little bit of deep slate, and that just for all of them to keep them in a similar style because it's like the warehouse district, keep everything of the same kind of style, kind of how I was doing with my housing. So if we come around here, I've done a little bit of detailing that probably didn't get showed in the time lapse quite as well, just to kind of fill up these walls so they're not quite as flat. As you compare to these ones look very just basic Minecraft, so they still have to get all this detail I use these walls, stairs, and slabs for. But if we come on inside, we can see it without the night vision. We've got a little bit more detail that wasn't quite shown in the time lapse because it didn't really fit. Couldn't get a good angle with this kind of tight spacing. So first up, I've got all these kind of brewing, these barrels full of alcohol. So using the new shelving, really helpful here. I'm also using it back here. Let's see, can we turn, that's there. We can see a little bit better without the shaders, or if I grab a torch maybe, that might make it look a little bit better. There we go. So we got these here like this, just some barrels holding all this alcohol that this brewery is making. Then, as you saw, I've got these kind of vats where the alcohol is being all made, so we can climb up here to the kind of catwalk up here, made with the grates, trapdoors, hanging from the ceiling with the chains, and we can actually go into each one if we kind of hop over. We've also had a couple workplace accidents. Hopefully OSHA doesn't come by and inspect this area, but they kind of walked in on their own. Each one has a different amount of water in it, just to show a little bit. Oh, probably want to turn off Tinker so I don't mess anything else up like I did with that one. Let's quickly replace that. Ooh, I don't want that. So got the different ones. That's clicking too quickly. Jeez, stop. Okay, there we go. It's gone down. So we got the 4 different tanks. One's open, so it's empty. So maybe these guys are working on it. They're not falling in. But we got the different ones. The lighting, I've just been using the new copper lanterns and all these chains. Might get a different type, but these kind of worked well. If we head on down here, we've got the piping. So I'm using these lightning rods. They work really well as piping. Problem is they don't connect when you turn a corner. So they're only really good for straight offs. So right now you have to use a little bit of your imagination. Here I used some just bars right now because I couldn't think of a better way to kind of connect the corners, and then same for over here. So the liquid comes through here, ends up in these cauldrons. Sadly, I can't color them any differently. Same with the water. We were very limited in Java with all the buckets. Where are they? Maybe I just search bucket. So we have water and lava and snow. I don't think you can put milk into these. Let's check. Can't even get these out. Maybe it's not a full one. There we go. Yeah, no, so it can't fill those up. So it's lava or water. I could probably change it maybe if I change the biome. It might change the water color, but it wouldn't look like alcohol in any way. So maybe that's something for a texture pack one day. I change the color of water in a certain biome that I'll never use anywhere else, and it can be used as my alcohol, and I just change these chunks only for it to change. Then we got these brewing stands, just right now, just a bit of water. Let's turn off all this stuff. It's getting a little in the way. I got some barrier blocks so that the villagers don't jump up on here. Got some employed in here. Then we got our little wagon here. So I stole this from all my other builds that I've used wagons, but I've replaced using the new shelving. I'm using it as much as possible, and then I've got a bunch of barrels in here. My new technique for large kind of barn door type things, and then a little bit more detail with these here, with these shelving. You might notice that they don't look quite as they usually do, which has these three. If you use Tinker, you can change them. Problem is, second you place anything next to them, it messes it up. So you have to do it at the last thing, and they're very easy to mess up, so careful when using those. Out here, I've got kind of broken down oxidized tank. So I took one of these guys in here, copied it to out here, and turned it on its side. Did a couple things for like the stairs, can't have it all the way around, but did my best to kind of replicate the look, broken glass, just to like, this is where they're storing their old things, because I need to have little bits of detail on the outside here, so it doesn't feel too flat. Usually when I have this area, I do things where I like trees or grass, but that doesn't work over here. So I've got to come up with ways to kind of decorate these flat areas. But that's the brewery. I've also got a couple more ideas here. So Brewer Hall is done. So Stone Carvers Guild, I got this idea for having all these different statues. And then this is a very stony area, so having someone that can create statues or carve stone, that'll be a good idea for one of these. Another one is gem cutters. Over on my marketplace, I do have a gem cutter kind of selling gems here at the front, but where are they going to get it from? So I thought I would have a larger scale factory over here. That one maybe is an offshoot just to sell to travelers. And then finally, I got a tanner or leather working area. So I didn't actually build one in my village, even though that would be a pretty good idea. I kind of have one over there. Can't really see well because it's too far away and I'm using distant horizons. But you can kind of see my little hunter's shack. I've got a little bit of a tannery, his own kind of personal one. Actually, we can fly over here using these little entities. So I got some leather working here. So maybe he sells all of his stuff to one of these guys, or they import a bunch of leather working. So I've got to do a bit of research on how I want it to look. I took the look of this one because I've visited a couple breweries in my time, just on little tours and things like that. So I know what they kind of look like. It's kind of all just jammed into one room opposed to many different halls. But this kind of works for that kind of style I was going for. So I've got 3 more here, and we got, well, 1, 2, 3, at least 3 more that I can probably fit in here. I might be able to squeeze one more, maybe small one in this area, maybe cut off the housing. So this will be kind of like maybe town housing for these people, so they don't have to either go over here, or just so we have like family homes that own these areas. So like each family owns a warehouse and things like that. But with this build done, I guess we should get to some of the others and add a little bit of detail towards them so that they don't feel too kind of messed up and flat like they look, and more like the one that I've working in for the brewery. Alright, so I've added a little bit more detail, got these little bits on the side so they're not quite as flat. I've left the kind of fronts alone because I need to figure out what I'm going to do for each one, as well as the windows. The windows will kind of be the last thing because in this one, I wanted to have more windows, but lots of things have to go on the walls, like these like the barrel stacks, and a window doesn't make sense over here. I got lucky and had a kind of skylight one there because I want a bit of light coming from those, but it's a workhouse, you don't need to have too much of the exterior lighting. So that'll be kind of like the last thing. Once I built the interiors, I can figure out where a window will go. And all of these have potential to have like these skylight ones or on any of the walls. So I can do that for those. Oh, looks like I accidentally got one started there. But for labeling each of these, so this is the brewers, so I'll probably make some signs, kind of like, if we hop over here, I've got these kind of signs using the entities. So I got like an alcohol mug of like something frothing here. I got my blacksmith hammer over here, and I did a couple, I don't know where else. I think those are the two main ones I used, but I can kind of do those for these just to get a little bit of detail. But for these three, since I've got four, so I might as well start assigning these. So I think for the stonecutter, or the stone carvers guild, so making statues and big things like that, we need a big one. So I'm thinking using this two-story one I kind of designed here. So I'm going to make the opening. I want to have it nice and open so we can kind of have the kind of trucks, well not trucks, but like caravans and things like this. Well, I'm forgetting the name, the carts, large carts, to move it along and place it where it needs to go. So it needs to be close to the road. So it can't be like this one where it's like a tight offshoot where small little carts can kind of pass by. So I think I'm going to put it at the front here, or maybe we have it back here and have this being like a loading dock. So I can have some like broken up statues, maybe some broken ones or some that are getting ready to be delivered. So I think that works. So I don't have to build another kind of warehouse here. I can just incorporate this into a yard, kind of like what I did over here for the blacksmith. This one's much smaller, of course, but it's like a little, nice little offshoot to store things by it. So let's get to building that. Alright, and that is another build done. So this is the Stone Carvers Guild. We'll start from the front door. So I added a bit more detail. You saw I did it for all of them, but for this one a little bit more. So I opened up the door a little bit more, made it a little larger. I'm really enjoying working with these shelf doors I've been doing. Really allows for larger doors since it doesn't need to be functional like a regular door. So this works a lot better. So we come in here, we got a little bit of lighting from these struts. And then we got some tools just set off to the side. And then we get into our statues. So we got here just a giant sword that might be prepped for something like one of these giant statues over here. Zoomed in too far. Maybe something like this will be built soon and they'll need these giant swords. Similar to how we have the giant axes over here. Something like that. So just prepping a large one. I've hung it by a chain. It's kind of hard to see up here, but we got a chain holding onto it. And then we have one of these large iron golem-esque statues. So I just made this really quick. I'll probably spend some time, maybe make some better looking ones. These are kind of just the placeholders. I've got a couple laying down over there just to kind of get the idea of what I want for this area. So I just threw together a quick iron golem out of stone and black stone. Looks decent. It gets the likeness. So this might be kind of shipped off to have it stationed around to decorate different housing or different building and such. And then we got some stores, like storage of rocks and such. And if we come up here, we got some workers kind of using the grindstones. That one's out of place. And some of the stone cutters getting all the stone ready to be put into these statues. And then if we come down here, we got this huge sliding door for the workshop outside. Missed one there. So it would slide across. And I started putting some giant stones. Not sure why that one looks weird shadow. It's probably clipped into something weird. But I was going to make this kind of like a stone yard. So I started with the large stones. I might do some of these, like just the blocks. And then if we come over here, we got a bit of storage of these stone statues that are ready to be shipped off and some that are getting shipped off already. So I grabbed a horse, made it no AI so it won't be roaming around, attached some chains. I wish I could put some like a saddle or something on, but because I did the no AI, it won't let me tame it. So there's probably a command to spawn it with the saddle on. That would like kind of work a little bit better. Then I made a kind of little carriage. I copied the one that I have, whoops, over here. But then I just scaled it up. So instead of using the trapdoor, I could use full stone stairs to make the wheels. And then I've got a couple of the statues sitting in, ready to be transported to wherever they're needed. So he's kind of blocking the road, but he's on his way out. But this video is going to be a little bit shorter than usual just because I've had quite a busy week. I've spent some time prepping for my big live stream that I did on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm planning to keep that up as long as possible, so if you ever find yourself with nothing to do on a Thursday night, come over and check out what I have to do. Recently I started a project of building Mount Fuji, and it is a massive project. If anything, I think if my math is right, it's actually bigger than this entire mountain range, or around the same size. It's about almost 4,000 blocks wide, and it's at the max world height at around 380-ish blocks. So if you want to kind of check that out, the VOD might still be up at the time you're watching this, or if you want to just try and catch the live version of it, check me out at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch at the_imperma_frost. But with that, that'll be the end of today's episode. I do have these two warehouses to go. If you can think of better ideas than the gem store and what was the other one? Let's hop by here. The leatherworker Tanner. If you can think of maybe better ideas for these two, or maybe because I still got 3 more to go over here, if you've got more ideas for kind of the workshop, I'm not looking for like the industrial, because like things like the blacksmiths and forges and stuff will go over here in the purple district area, closer to the kind of lava. So if you have a better idea of what can go into these different areas for workshop-esque things, leave it down in the comments and I'd love to see them so I can get some good ideas for planning, as well as if you think of anything that can be used in these kind of areas back here to fill up the area. I'll probably just do some like scrap piles, maybe bring up the rocks a little bit just so it looks a little bit messier, not so smooth. But other than that, if you got any other ideas, leave it down in the comments. But with that, that'll be it for today's episode. So if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.